man. Life is one big road with a lot of sign, sign and more sign. Many a sorrow, many a joy. Don't you try to take life as a toy. Some doing good and some doing bad, but these kind of badness is making me sad. Life is one big road with a lot of sign. Yoy! The good old days, boy. Tennessee. You know, life can be really hard. It can be funny and it can be hard. You know, particularly if you have ambition, it can be really hard because, for example, you may believe that you're a good singer. No, I'm not putting my hand up. You may believe that you're a good singer. You may can sing in your bathroom or in your bedroom or in your Skylab or wherever it is, and it sounds good to you. And then when you go out the road and you hold a microphone in a club or whatever, and you start to sing, others may not feel that way. And if you believe in your heart of hearts that this is your purpose, this is my thing, it can be really hard to have to accept, to finally accept that that thing is not for you. And throughout my journey, I've seen singers, you know, being on the media side, filming, taking pictures. I've seen singers who really want it. They want it. They want to be able to share what they have with the audience, but they just haven't got it. That special something that you need, that je ne sais quoi, or whatever it is, that singers have, that gift. That's it, gift that was blessed them from birth or whatever it is. And it can be hard and it can be sad to see, you know, somebody's dream crushed and for them to maybe have to take a different role, maybe as a songwriter, just to be in that same environment, just to be around those, maybe a manager, just to be around those who have the gift, who are able to take it where it needs to go. The life can be hard, it can be harsh, but you know, reality is reality, and sometimes we have to come to terms with maybe I ain't the one, you know? And it's the same in with creatives and productives in photography, videography, media. I mean, I've seen it all my days working in a 9 to 5. We call it the plantation, going on the plantation, because you're going to fulfill, you're going to further somebody else's dream, you know, for a measly recompense so that you can come back to further somebody else's dream and not your own. So we call it the plantation. We know we're not furthering our own dream there. We're just getting that little sustenance, yeah? So on the plantation, when I used to do a 9 to 5, all the jobs that I remember doing, the design jobs, were there was always a person in charge who found himself in that position, in charge of the creatives. And they weren't creative themselves, or they weren't very creative themselves, but they ended up having the power over those who were able to reach that creative, tap that creative gift that was given to them and make use of it. And it was always a struggle. It was always a hard place to be, that left brain environment, you know, trying to be creative with this person who is in charge of you, who just didn't have the skill, but were trying to style themselves as as that person, as that kind of creative person who, you know, you could vibe with and inspire and get ideas and, you know, spiral up off with and all that. And I found those creative people, those productives who styled themselves as creatives, who weren't really that creative, you could always spot them after a while. You know, they had certain characteristics, you know. They always would try and take your ideas and pass it off as their own. You know, it's like they would mimic something that you did and try and emulate it, try and go one better. I mean, they couldn't be creative without you being there, without you doing your thing. It's like they needed you there, you know? And I've always found wherever I've worked in that 9 to 5 plantation environment, they're always there, you know, and you find yourself digging them out of holes, and you find yourself, you know, helping them to get to the next level, or to get more money, or to, you know, get that pat on the back. And it never seemed to come to you. It never seemed to filter down. You were just a team player. They say, well done, Aish. Well done, my man. But it never, you know, that promotion never came to me. I never got the pay rise, you know, the recognition even. And it's hard. Life is hard, man. And that's one of the reasons why I had to come off of that environment. I had to find a way to work for myself so that I didn't have to be in that left brain environment. I'm not saying that I'm the best, the most creative person in the world, but I just found it a real struggle being around people like that who won't listen when they're clearly doing something wrong or clearly going in the wrong direction. They won't hear it from you. And you know that the direction that you're going as a team is going to end up, you know, crash and burn. You know it's going to crash and burn. It's a horrible place to be. So sometimes, or now, I will step back from situations like that when I find those people, when I meet up with those people, because I still see them. I meet up with them all the time now, you know, in even working for myself. But I have the ability to say, you know what, I'm bouncing, and just let them be. Let them move and bounce and go and do what they do with somebody else. And I think that's one of the best things about working for yourself. You have the freedom to choose whether to be a part of a project or not a part of the project. And ain't no thing, you know, there's always more projects, yeah? So you could always tell these people who are creatives, who are productive, styling themselves as creatives. If you spoke to them long enough, you know, you'd get that, but hold on, basic knowledge, basic things that you would expect somebody to know. They never seem to know it. And they're always trying to mask by hiding behind some big camera or something. You know, they always roll in with the best gear to try and mask the fact that they're not really creatives, or they have a creative leaning, but they're unable to tap that gift like the singer who really wanted to sing. They are that person, and that it makes them bitter, I guess. It makes them look at you with animosity, particularly if you are really creative. You will find them holding you down. You will find them taking you out of the loop, just because they know, or they feel, or they believe that if you are in the loop, you'll take away some of their shine. It's really sad. It is really sad. And I always come across those people. And over the years, I've become good at spotting them and sidestepping them and saying, bye, see ya, wouldn't want to be ya, you know. I've learned how to sidestep them. And I think it's really important to be able to see these people, because they will always be there. And no matter what you do, no matter how humble you are, they see you as a threat. That's basically what I'm trying to say. Yeah. Creative people can be a pain also. Creative people, not productive. I'm talking about creative people, because creative people, really creative people, don't really go by time. They go by inspiration. So time doesn't really mean anything to a creative person. So if you leave creatives to their own devices, it can mess you up in that 9 to 5 environment where things operate left brain and has to be done by a certain time. So I guess that is why productives are put into the mix to kind of steer and keep the productives on track. So it does make sense to have that balance, to have that mix, so that things can be productive and creative and you can make benefit out of it. What am I talking about? Within us, ourselves, there is that mix of productive and creative, and we have to get that balance right. Otherwise, we can end up being self-destructive because the creative productive mix hasn't been tuned, you know. And sometimes you'll see people, particularly, you know, focusing on gear. Focusing on gear because this gear isn't doing what I want it to do. I believe I can be more creative with another bit of gear. The gear acquisition syndrome thing. That is that struggle between productive and creativity. And that is when creativity is losing out. That is when creativity and productivity is losing out. In fact, both lose out because that balance, that little battle takes over and we end up entrenching ourselves in civil war. And when that happens with me, because it's happened recently, in the last couple of weeks, when that happens with me, I realize it's time to take a break. That's my way of dealing with it. I just stop, put down my cameras, don't do any writing, do something completely different. Go off in the garden, just go for walks, do something completely different. And sometimes it is hard. It's a hard thing to do because, like with street photography, I've gone through maybe a week, 2 weeks. And I don't think I've taken one decent photo in the whole of that time. And you can start beating yourself up if you don't recognize that sometimes you just need a break. That's basically what I'm trying to say. Sometimes you just need a break, a good break. Put that camera down, do something else. You know, that energy, that creativity, that essence, whatever it is, once it's there, it will always be there. It just needs a break. It's like when you're on the plantation, when you're doing a 9 to 5, you have your 2 weeks holiday. And you're supposed to get away from the office and go and do your thing. And when you get away from the office, you don't continue doing your work when you're on holiday. Some people do. These are the people that struggle with it. And they end up phoning up to find out what's going on in the office, or to make sure, because they think things won't flow if I'm not there. We need to get out of that because it is seriously damaging us. It's time for a break. And that's what I'm going through right now. I'm having a little break. I wasn't even sure that I was going to make this video today, but I thought, let me just make this video as part of my break. See, that's a struggle. I'm still struggling with it. Life is hard, man. Life is one big road with a lot of signs. And we need to see the signs, because the signs are there. We ignore them and we become a victim. Roadkill. We become a victim, injured by our own refusal to acknowledge and notice the signs. It's all good. Philosophical one today. Life is one big road with a lot of signs. Signs and more signs. I'm gonna make up my mind to face reality all the time.